Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to come on here today and make sort of a slightly different video. I haven't made one in a while, and I was talking to one of my students the other day and this topic came up, and I thought that it would be really cool to come onto YouTube and talk to all of you. So one thing that I really love being a music teacher is dealing with really young kids. I'm talking like 3.5 to 6 or 7 is like my favorite. They are so eager, and they soak things up like sponges, and like everything you do with them is like the coolest thing ever, and it's almost like you can do no wrong with young kids because they're just so eager to like please you and to be good students. And I've never had a bad experience with anybody that age. They're so great and they're so much fun. And I wanted to talk sort of about the kinds of things that we can do as voice teachers for really young kids. Now, it's really important to remember that when someone is 3.5, 4 years old, even up to 5, we're not really talking about technique or anything like that. What we're really working on is building healthy habits. So singing properly, warming your voice up, singing songs that fit within your range. So when you're warming kids up, you really want to engage them and give them a purpose. Like, you want them to know why they're doing these things. It's not just, oh, we're going to just do this because I said so. You want to let them know, hey, when we go to gym class, or we're going to go for a run, let's say with our friends, it's really important that, you stretch your legs and your arms out a little bit to make sure that your muscles don't get tired. So you want to explain to them really early that your voice works exactly the same way. It's all muscles. So you really want to make sure that we warm it up and keep it nice and strong before we start singing. So that's the most important thing with really young kids, is teaching them why we do certain things. It's not necessarily, you have to do this because I'm your teacher and I said so. I don't like that. I don't want to be, a dictator, a totalitarian. That's not who I am. I'm a musician. Like, I want you to have as much fun as you can. So really important, warm yourself up, and this is how we take care of ourselves. This is how we have a good time. So when it comes to your warm-ups, I've obviously talked in my other videos about, your 5-note scales, your arpeggios, things like that, fifths, thirds, all that kind of fun stuff, which you do with young kids as well, except you need to give them sort of catchy phrases that they can hold on to. So we're going to do a 5-note scale here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So if I had, let's say, a 13 or 14-year-old, I would say, let's just sing la 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 la. But with someone who's, 4 years old, I want to give them a cute little phrase that they can work with. My favorite one is, Mama made me mash my M&Ms, I'm mad. And when we get the I'm mad, that gives us our fifth as well. So you're taking two musical concepts there, the 5-note scale, as well as the fifth. You're putting into one warm-up, and they don't even realize it, but they've learned two things now, and that'll stick with them. So let's do it. Mama made me mash my M&Ms, I'm mad. 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 Now with that, when I have an older student, let's say the preteens, teenagers, things like that, you're going to do a fair bit of warming up. You're going to take probably 2 octaves of their range if you can do it. I usually go from about a G4 up into, let's say about a G3 to a G5, give or take, is where I like to sit. So that's here. So to for most girls, that's pretty well within the soprano range, and they should all be able to reach that. When we're talking about really young kids, I'm usually going to start at about a middle C. So that's your C4. So when I started the Mama made me mash my M&Ms, that's where I started that. Mama made me mash my M&Ms, I'm mad. When you're 4 years old, you don't have quite the range that you do when you're 6, when you're 7, when you're 8, and when you're 25. Things change very quickly, but you want to start a little bit smaller than you would for somebody a little bit older. Your range is going to develop over time. You're going to get better and better. All of a sudden, that C, which can be kind of low for a lot of 4-year-old girls, all of a sudden that C becomes a D3, and then you end up like me, and you're like, yeah, mezzo-soprano life. But you just don't know at that age. So you want to give them a sort of narrower range to work with, and try to just, stretch it as time goes by, and eventually you can add, 1 or 2 notes here and there, a semitone here, a semitone there, and that kind of thing to stretch out the range a little bit. But we're not really talking about, using this huge expanse of range for these really young kids. We want to just keep it kind of short, between, let's say, like a C and an E, give or take, that octave plus the major third. That's usually where I like to sit with young kids. So Mama made me mash my M&M. So then when we go to our arpeggios, so with my other students, I'll do breathing exercises, and I'll, show them how we breathe in, like we're breathing in through a straw, and then out. But it's a little bit difficult to teach, breathing to young kids. They're young and they're still, learning how to breathe and, form their words correctly a lot of the time, and that's perfectly normal. So we want to use sort of a little bit of almost speech pathology to help with that. So for arpeggios, I like to use ha. Ha, 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 ha. They're getting that ha, 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 ha. So they're building that diaphragm muscle by doing that, which is really, really good, and that's exactly what you want. So it's important to build those muscles and get into those habits before we start to get into our singing. So then, now that we're on our singing, what does that mean? So with young kids, it becomes less about, working on techniques and things like that, and more about just really getting into the habit of singing and healthy singing. So I do, as you can see, a ton of Disney. I know it's backwards on camera, and I'm sorry, I'll fix that. But yeah, a lot of Disney. Frozen is huge. Everybody wants to sing Let It Go. Everybody wants to be Elsa. It's a great song for little kids. It's very high, but a lot of young kids can reach those notes. And even if they can't, it gets them into the habit of breathing correctly. And if you need to bring things down a little bit, that's perfectly okay. I will definitely tailor my keys for all of my students. But Disney is great. I do A Whole New World and Part of Your World with almost all of my students. Disney is great. It's really not about how many songs can you learn and, how well do you sing the song. It's really about just building healthy habits, getting them into the habit of singing regularly and singing with confidence, breathing properly, breathing into the right places. And you want to teach these things without making it necessarily intentional to them, but it's very intentional to you. I know what I'm doing when I'm teaching my really young kids. I know that, by doing the ha, 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 when I'm doing my arpeggios, I know that they're building their diaphragm. They may not know that. They may not even be able to, say what a diaphragm is, but I know what they're doing, and that's the most important thing, is that you're teaching these things sort of subconsciously, and that's the most important for kids. When you keep them engaged and they don't really realize that they're learning anything to you, they're just having fun, but you're instilling really good, healthy habits that are going to last them, hopefully, the rest of their lives. And that is the most important thing when I'm teaching young kids, is to keep it fun, sing a lot of Disney stuff, make the warm-ups really cute and fun using really cool phrases. I'm going to do another video about all of the warm-ups that I will do for young kids, and I'll post that as well next week, maybe. All right, have a great rest of your week. Have fun in isolation, and as always, happy singing.